We might get started then. Hey, thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate your time and energy today. We'll see what we've got to share with you today. So my name is Dr. Sarah Pye. I'm the host of World of Wildlife. I co-host this gathering every single month with Dr. Wong Siew, who's based in Borneo. Now, Wong will hopefully be here in a few minutes. He sometimes gets called away because there's a bit of a bear drama going on, and that's a serious bear drama, not a bear as in climbing bears. So he runs the Bornean Sun Bear Conservation Center. I write books about Wong, so I've actually written 6 children's books and 1 adult biography about Dr. Wong Siew and his life in Borneo with the different animals in the rainforest there. I first met Dr. Wong in 2012, and I was absolutely captivated with his charisma and commitment to saving a species from extinction. So I asked him what I could do to help. He came back to me with 5 very powerful words. He said, "Do what you do best." And that sort of propelled me down the last 13 years or so. I started by introducing him to the University of the Sunshine Coast. That's led to all sorts of projects. I created an adoption program with some students in 2014 that helps him raise money for sun bear conservation. And in 2016, I asked him if I could write his story. So that's what's this is what's actually come from that, including a doctorate. So I actually did my doctorate in how can we use narratives to engage non-scientists in conservation. So that's sort of what I've been doing for the last decade or more. I also now do a lot of workshops with children because I realize that the importance of actually trying to connect with children in the next generation, because if we don't reconnect ourselves with nature, then we're likely to be one of the next species that goes extinct. So I spend a lot of time in schools doing workshops around my book content. I've also created all sorts of teacher resources like this package that goes together with the Wildlife Wong and the Sun Bear book. And I'm also writing a brand new book, or just finished writing a brand new book called Curious Kai Asks Why. Now, this book is all about a young 10-year-old girl. She's really wants to learn from wildlife. It's been 2 years in the making, and then this 10-year-old girl has constantly, how would we say it? Basically, her mind is constantly brimming with curiosity, and she wonders things like, do songbirds have accents? Can fish fly? Are bats rats with wings or birds with fur? So Kai and her artistic mum hook up their camper trailer and they go in search of the real scientists and species who have the answers for her. Kai's convinced that the answers to her burning questions about Queensland's diverse wildlife will help us save the world. So some of the scientists featured in this book have already been speakers here at World of Wildlife, like Dr. Dom Podby, Graham Lauriston, Dr. Asia Haynes, and Spencer Hitchin. Others will be joining us in the near future. So Curious Kai is now available for pre-order through Kickstarter. You can purchase a copy if you'd like of the book for yourself, for the young person in your life or a teacher that you know. I will be running an online launch in September, late September, and you guys are definitely invited to come to that. At this stage, though, I really need your support, and I would love for you to have a copy of Curious Kai before anyone else gets it. So I haven't asked for this before, and you know that World of Wildlife has been free ever since we started this 4 years ago. I'm asking you to help now. So together we can connect kids to nature through storytelling. So I'd love you to click, have a look. You can actually have a look at the real life cover and see what you think of the cover. Give me some feedback. But also while you're there, think about possibly pledging, purchasing a copy and sharing that link widely to help me get across the line. I would so appreciate that. That'd be really, really helpful. So turning 60, I've actually turned 60 this week or last week. I know. I launched the Kickstarter campaign for my 60th, and I also, turning 60, there's one place that I've wanted to go since I was 12, or the age of curious Kai, I guess, the Galapagos Islands. So this is the place where Charles Darwin studied finches. It's the home to these blue-footed boobies, marine iguanas, ancient tortoises, and all sorts of amazing things. So I head off to the Galapagos Islands on Friday. I am totally beside myself. Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to telling you stories when I get back. While I'm there, I don't tend to travel anymore just in a hedonistic way. I tend to travel and try and give back a little bit while I'm traveling. So while I'm there, I've donated my time to run a half-day workshop for the scientists at the Galapagos Research Centre. My goal is to help them improve their narrative communication skills and spread their impressive science a little bit further. So this is the workshop I'll be doing. Narrativas para la conversación. And I'm trying really hard to learn a few Spanish words to work on that. I'll have a translator with me at the time. I will then, the next day, be hosting a screening of Bear Trek for the Galapagos community. Now, this is a film created by Chris Morgan, if anyone hasn't heard of Chris Morgan. He's a US documentary filmmaker, and his team made this movie 20 years ago. 20 years ago. This was a time when there was no such thing as drones, so all their aerial footage was done with helicopters, believe it or not. They traveled around the world with Chris on a motorbike in search of bears and bear scientists around the world. One of those bear scientists that they met was Dr. Wong, who at the time was in the middle of 6 years in the jungles of Borneo studying sun bears and learning more about sun bears than anyone else on Earth. So this is a movie close to my heart. Chris Morgan, the filmmaker, has given me permission to showcase this incredible film in the Galapagos, and even created Spanish subtitles so that the people in the Galapagos can see it in two languages at the same time. So I'm very, very excited for what's coming for me next week. Hey, well, I would like to introduce my friend, someone I admire more than anyone else on earth, Dr. Wong, who's going to tell us a little bit about his update in Borneo, what's actually going on with the bears in Borneo. So Wong, there's a picture that might start you off of a couple of things that have happened since we last met. Over to you, Wong.
Okay, great. Hi, I am currently in China right now in Guangzhou. I just arrived like last night, at like 2 a.m. in the morning. Managed to deal with everything at 3 o'clock, and so it has been a rough travel. I got 2 lectures to be delivered in the next 2 days
Wow.
at the Southern China Normal University. Yeah, so about nature-based tourisms and conservations, and how nature tourism, especially the research tourisms, which is a very popular topics among the Chinese scholar nowadays, where they travel, they learn the environment, they with their tourist money, they helps local people, and also of course conservation as well. So that's what I'm here for the next few days. Actually, at first I was so worried that I won't be able to join you today, because I just realized that I cannot use Google. I cannot use most of the website that I used to in my computer. I cannot use, and only a certain things. I cannot use Facebook, cannot use WhatsApp. So all of those are blocked, so this is the world where
Well
very
done.
different.
It.
Yeah, and I've been worried so much that I cannot pay because nobody accept cash nowadays. And just now I was in an electric car, and the driver can just let the car drive for itself. This
Wow.
is really amazing, and it is like in a sci-fi movie, and it's in real life right now. Anyway, so that is me right now. And then update about what we have been doing. Of course, last month on May 16 is a big day for us when we celebrating the International Sunbear Day. And then I'm not sure whether you have follow our live stream and then yeah, and then yeah, so it has been another great celebrations where we invited school groups, the local college for us to support our works. And then and that day is also Teachers Day in Malaysia. I think they are also celebrate in many country as well. And yeah, so it was a very good tiring. Of course, it
Was
is
it
also
very
my birthday.
successful?
Yeah. Yes,
Was it
Sarah, you want to say something?
successful? Was it successful?
Yeah, it was a very, very successful event. And then compared to the last 2 years where our events was morning and afternoon, and then this year we did it only in the morning session. I think it's a good idea. One of the reason is because it's also Friday. We need to get everything's done. Most of the program done by 11 by noon, so that the Muslim can go to the mosque to pray. So we cut off at 12 o'clock. Yeah, it was a good yeah, good time, I have to say. Yeah.
Oh,
And then after
fantastic.
that, yeah. And then after that, so I've been doing my typical things, running around, that what you see in the screen right now. So I'm giving talks in several university
And there's a couple
here
of
and
other
there.
things there that you might want to talk about as well.
Yeah, so like what, International Sunbear Day, and then yeah, so right now we also um hold on, we also in the process of changing our forest enclosure. So if some of you may know, our forest enclosure, the fencing in Forest Enclosure 1 was built 40 years ago for the Sumatran rhino and using the very hard ironwoods. But after these ironwood being in use in the rainforest for 40 years, many parts are not safe anymore. So last year, October, we decided to refurbish this broken decayed ironwood into a chain link fences. And right now we are almost done. We are at pen C right now, and hopefully in the next few weeks we will get it done, and the bears can be let out in the newer enclosure, which is bigger, and definitely will increase the visitor experience. So I hope next time if any of you come here, you will see a slightly different Boden Summit Conservation Center. And then in the process, we are in the process of finding more money to build our third forest enclosure. No, the third observation platform. Okay, and which definitely will improve the visitor experiences and also the entrance foyer as well. Yeah. So
Excellent.
yeah, and then yeah, so there's been several things happening as well over here. Any questions?
Who's got a question for Wong?
I'm curious on that on the slide that you showed just before. There was in the graphic the gliding animal. What was that one?
The what?
There was a on the graphic.
I'll pop it up.
Pop it up, yeah.
No, Wung Bing's illustration there in the middle.
Yeah,
Oh,
the little orangey red dude in the middle there, just below the sun bear. What's that?
the orange
Yeah,
animals in the
yeah,
picture,
Yeah,
flying squirrels.
yeah, the flying squirrel.
yeah. Because that uh, at the school I teach at, we watch squirrel gliders and in using cameras in nest boxes. So yeah, this just took me straight to that, and I was wondering
Absolutely.
um,
It's
what
a
that one actually
giant
was.
flying squirrel, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. And we actually saw one last time I was there. We saw them gliding at night, Jono. It was really awesome.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yes.
That's
Yes.
that's a bit of
Yeah.
privilege to be able to catch them at night. Yeah.
Yeah, especially at the at Sepilo, we have the Rainforest Discovery Center with the biggest canopy walkway in the world, and then with all the big giant trees, and actually they place a few nest box initially for the hornbill for nesting, but the hornbill did not use it. The flying squirrel used it. And then so the flying squirrels claim that nest box as their home, and then settle down. And then every days with the presence of the visitors at 6:20 sharp, they would come out and glide from one big tree to another big tree. So the sight is actually quite spectacular for people to see, and it's satisfaction guaranteed.
Yeah,
6:20,
I can
not a
guarantee I
minute
saw them.
early and not a minute late.
Sounds
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're pretty amazing. Rhonda says in the comments, there are more species of flying squirrel in Borneo than any other world region.
Yeah, that is correct. And one of the reason why is because of the canopy, is because of the tree is so tall, and there are many species evolved to use the canopy as much as possible. And a good example is flying squirrels. A good example is the flying snake, flying frog, and then the flying lemur, the kulugo. So a lot of flying animals, especially remember even flying what Draco, a lizard that fly from tree to, all because of the canopy structures, all because of the forest is not two-dimensional but three-dimensional. So if you have not experienced Borneo rainforest, come and visit and spend your money here, and we need your money.
Absolutely. And it's just so diverse, isn't it? The rainforest.
Yes, yeah. And
Incredibly
then today because of my connection is not so good, and also I have another meeting coming up at 6. I need to, leave this meeting early, so I may not be
okay.
able
Don't you
to
worry. Are there any
yeah.
last minute questions then for Wong before he needs to head out?
Yeah.
What else do we need to know about Borneo? No, looking good.
Okay, good.
All right, you're well,
Then
obviously
I'll
stay
pass
as
on.
long as you can, Wong, but we understand you've got things you have to do.
Okay, cool. All right. Hope you enjoy this meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. That's really awesome. So when was it? Oh, it was not long ago. We had Bella Graham come and talk to us not long ago. She talked about the shark nets. She talked about how things are going in Queensland in relation to shark nets and drumlines. And you might think, why are we going to repeat that subject? But there's a few reasons why I wanted to repeat this subject. One thing that John is going to talk about is the Queensland government is not listening. Yesterday, or 2 days ago, I guess it is, Bella created another activist campaign. And these are pictures of what happened just around the corner from my house on Saturday. We're trying very hard to make the government listen. And I think we need as much help as we can. We've got to keep this momentum going. And with that, I'm really, really excited to introduce our guest speaker, Jonathan Clark from Sea Shepherd. John and I have known each other for, I don't know, about 5 years or so, probably. We met at Woodford Folk Festival at the Lettering House one day. And I'm really honored to have him speak for us today. So I'm going to pass over to Jonathan to give you some information, more information about sharks and shark nets throughout the world. While he's just getting his slides up, though, I want to tell you also that I just on Sunday watched the David Attenborough Oceans film. And if anybody has not seen that yet, please do. Please do. Put your hand, let's get some hands up in the air for anyone who's actually seen it so far. Because, yeah, pretty impressive movie, some incredible footage and some that's quite heart-wrenching. So, Jonathan, you're on. Thank you so much.
Hey, Sarah, thank you so much for the opportunity. Hey, I just thought before I kicked off, I'm going to make mention of the fact that you hit 60 the other day.
Yeah.
Well, I'm hitting 60 next year, and I met my friend Tony Isaacson here on his 60th birthday. When he and I went out and dived on the shark nets and drumlines out from Maroochydore, and I reckon Tony will remember that day very well.
I do indeed.
There you go. Anyway, so thank you for the opportunity, and I'll just kick off because I do like to make sure that I acknowledge the country which where I'm coming to you from, this is traditional lands of Australian Aboriginal people, and many of those people were removed from their country and suffered greatly over time. So I want to pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and recognise in that our First Nations people, lived in harmony with land and seas for millennia, and I always like to reflect on that, because we're here trying to defend that country and the seas and the animals that live therein. So yeah, it's always worth stopping and thinking about those links. So thank you for that. Anyway, I come to you as Queensland's coordinator of Sea Shepherd's Shark Defence Campaign. We also have a New South Wales coordinator, Sarah Dawson. So we are focusing our shark defence on the Queensland and New South Wales government program. So in Queensland, it's called the Shark Control Program. In New South Wales, it's the Shark Meshing Program. And there are other aspects to those as well. But we're fighting against the lethal aspects of those programs and trying to get investment into the non-lethal alternatives that have just been getting better and better and better each and every year. Okay, so I want to send it over to you. Now, I know in this meeting, there's a lot of people who will be able to articulate very well what a shark net is. But I wonder if you can indulge me for a moment, and I'd especially like someone who mightn't really know what a shark net is, or maybe we've got someone from overseas or whatever, who might be able to be game to pop up and say, all right, this is what I imagine a shark net would be like. And part of the reason I do this is for all of those people who do know what a shark net is. It's a way of starting a conversation by getting people to explain what they think a shark net is. So have I got anyone who'd like to have a crack and describe to us what you think a shark net might be? And Tony, you're not allowed to answer it, and neither are any of my Sea Shepherd friends here.
Kat and Milani have put their hands up.
Thanks, have a crack.
And oh, there you go. Okay, Milani.
Hi. I think it
Milani.
might be like a big white kind of rope net, and then maybe a chain into the ground. Yeah, and then the two orange things at the floaters.
Yeah, what do you think they do?
They trap sharks, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Lots of other animals, obviously.
Yeah, fair call. You're pretty spot on there, and thanks for giving it a crack. And you're pretty much on the money there. Now, in some audiences, when you ask that question, people might describe to you. They might say to you, "Oh yeah, shark nets out there from the beaches," and they might talk about it, how it goes from the surface to the floor of the ocean and from one side of the beach to the other and things like that. And I'm sure a lot of people here have had conversations like that. And my point here is that there's a lot of people in the general public, and this is not the same as the normal general public audience, I know, but in the general public, a lot of people will describe something that's more akin to a barrier, something that stops sharks getting to the beach and therefore can be seen is a way to make swimmers more safe. And in fact, a shark net is more like Milani described a moment ago, as a device that is there to kill sharks, and in so doing has an impact on a whole lot of animals, other animals as well. And I'll just point out too that I would never advocate for any device, even if it was so specific it could only catch sharks. I'm not going to say that we should be doing that either. But one of the biggest problems with shark nets is how indiscriminate they are. Now, like I say, a lot of people will describe something more akin to a barrier, and this is one of the big issues that we're having in the media right now. So again and again and again, Channel 7, Channel 9, and even our ABC run these stories about shark nets And the visuals that they put up are something more like that. And that is not a shark net. We're finding it in the New South Wales media a lot. New South Wales also has shark nets. And again and again and again, we're getting these images of shark barriers rather than shark nets. Now, shark barriers are a good thing. This one here is the Eco Shark Barrier, a Western Australian invention that is installed at Coogee Beach, City of Cockburn, Western Australia. And as you can see, this one here goes from the surface to the sea floor and goes all the way to the beach and provides a large, safe swimming area. And I'll show you a Google Map image that I pulled off Google Maps yesterday. And you can see on this one that the enclosure does go all the way around to the beach and is in fact a barrier that sharks cannot enter into the enclosure, and they're not damaged by it, and neither are any other wildlife. So we think shark barriers are a really good thing, and eco shark barriers are particularly good design, and one that we've really been advocating for a long time and struggling to get that uptake on that by either of the East Coast governments. Now, I want to tell you about the impact of shark nets now, as I was asked to do on this. And I've got some footage here. I'm going to alarm bells. This is not pretty. This is some fairly gruesome footage that we attained in 2 years ago now at Maroochydore in the shark net there. And you can see the size of the shark net there. That is no barrier, and you can see what we found on this particular day. And we've found several dolphins in shark nets. So there's the impact right there, completely, absolutely unnecessary. And, you know, that doesn't make beaches safe in any way, shape or form. Okie doke, let's jump on to my next slide, and I'll show you a diagram of what a shark net in Queensland actually is. So our Queensland shark nets are 186 metres long. They're 6 metres down from the surface, but they're usually put in around about 11 to 12 metres of water. So when we say sharks can swim around them and swim under them, it's absolutely true. They're put about 400 metres from shore. So in a sense, you know, I struggle sometimes with the description of how big they are. Some people say, oh, they're really small, they're pitifully small and that sort of thing. They are pitifully small in relation to the size of beaches and the distance they are from beaches. When you think that they're meant to be a shark barrier, they're absolutely not. When you're diving on them or very close to them, and we don't advocate anyone does this, but there's a few people in this session right now who have done this and photographed animals on them, and they look really big when you're beside them, and they're very dangerous because they move, and yeah, you've got to be really careful. And of course, now in Queensland, it's illegal to do what we used to do, which was diving on the shark nets and attaining a whole lot of imagery. So we've had to change our strategies over the years. But there's 27 of these shark nets in Queensland at the moment. Drumlines are the other lethal item that are used in the Queensland Shark Control Program. Queensland's the only place where what we call traditional drumlines are. And drumlines consist of a float with a large baited hook, and you know the hook is about that big, yeah. And that's in Queensland at the moment. More on that later. They are rebaited every 2 days, and we've got something like 383 of them across the state. One other device that is used in Queensland is something called the Catch Alert drumlines. People from New South Wales will know them as smart drumlines. They originated out of Reunion Island, and those smart drumlines stands for Shark Management Alert in Real Time. The difference between them and traditional drumlines is essentially they have an alarm on them that allows a signal to be released when an animal takes the bait and gets hooked. What that does is allow contractors to respond in short time to go and deal with the animals, and that will depend on what the animal is on the line. Now, in Queensland, they are only used in the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park, and that is due to court orders that came out after the government lost a court case about lethal measures inside the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. There are no plans to replace traditional drumlines with catch alert drumlines in the rest of Queensland at this stage, and they're used rather a lot in New South Wales. I can tell you now, I don't like these drumlines either. They do cause harm to animals. They do kill some animals. Hammerheads are not great when they get caught on anything. Yeah, so I think there is a place for smart drumlines, and that is in the tagging programs, because they are the device that can allow scientists to capture sharks for tagging. But my problem with them is that governments tend to put them right there at the same beaches where surf lifesavers are, where people are swimming, and so they're placed there in a way where the government is saying that they are a mitigation device, and I would contend that they're absolutely not a mitigation device. So let's move on from that and have a look at some of the impacts. Sarah asked me to talk about some of the impacts that have been occurring in Queensland. So I had a look. I thought the way I might attack this is to have a look at the Queensland's government's own data from the Shark Control Program. So QSCP is Queensland Shark Control Program. And this data comes from the QFish database, which is live and available for everyone to access. So I just pulled up the data from the last 10 years, 2015 to June this year. So it's 10 years plus 6 months. So in that time, and this is catch data, so 8,558 sharks caught, and that is trending very steeply upwards. I think the number in 2015 was 650 or so sharks, and last year was somewhere between 12 and 1,300, so a doubling in that time, and the graph steadily goes up. But amongst those 8,000 odd, or more than 8,000 sharks, you got the scalloped hammerheads. Now, the scalloped hammerheads are critically endangered on the east coast of Australia, 209 of those over the 10 years. Grey nurse sharks, supposedly protected. Grey nurse sharks is what we call them. For people overseas, you'll know them as sand tigers, 36 of those. And bull sharks, 1,363, tigers, 2,606, and white sharks, 75. Now, while they've been catching those animals, 75 whales have been caught, and the trend is upwards. And of course, that's going to be upwards with the increasing population of those animals. Dolphins, 116 in those 10 years. And those numbers jump around. So the lowest year was 7, the highest 14 in those 10 years. Rays, 565, with 61 of those being manta rays, ranging from 4 to 9 per year. And then there's the turtles. There's 403 of those get caught. And, you know, what have we got? 6 of the world's 7 sea turtles on our coast here, catching 22 to 75 of those every year. So there's part of the impact. Let's move on and see if I can get, yeah. And I thought I'd show you a graph of...
Yeah. Caroline's asking, does caught mean killed in all cases?
Okay, yeah, great question. And the answer to that is that no, caught does not mean killed. And I just wanted to show you the caught data today. There's all sorts of nuances in the data, and you can find out whether animals were caught or killed. Now, anything that is a target shark, and there are 7 species of target sharks, if they are caught, they will be killed. If they're a target shark over 2 meters. Now, the definition of target shark has changed over the years. It used to be anything that was a shark. They changed it to 19 species of sharks. More recently, About 3 years ago, they changed it to 7 species of sharks, including, ridiculously, black tip reef sharks and things like that on the kill list. But one of the reasons I don't focus on the killed is because you catch a hammerhead and release it. They say that it's alive. Well, at least 50 to 80% of those are going to be dead, even if they're released alive. Whales, when they're caught, they expend so much energy in the shark nets. There's so much stress accrued by those animals, and they've only got a finite budget in their migration. We don't know whether they're going to be surviving those ordeals or not. So the numbers in the database that say killed are not going to be what is ultimately ends up dead from being caught in this gear. So thank you for that question. So this is catch data. So animals caught in the shark control program is trending upwards, which is really interesting. And I'll make a point a little bit later about the Queensland government's recent announcement. They're already trending upwards pretty sharply there, as you can see on that graph. Note the 2025 there, that's only 6 months. And so, where are we going to end up this year? And this is all supposedly without changing the gear in these 10 years. And we're about to have a massive increase in gear. So that's supposed to be coming in July. Okay, let's keep going and see if I find my little old.
Another quick question while you're
Yeah.
watching that
Yeah.
is, why do the hammerheads die after release? Is that stress or damage or?
Okay, so a couple of things as I understand here. Now, I'm not a shark scientist, but my understanding is that hammerheads are very susceptible because when they get caught, they release a stress hormone, and that gets into their muscles and can cause fatality. And sometimes they swim off, apparently swimming off strongly, but can subsequently die in the hours afterwards. One of the other things I understand about hammerheads is they've got a small mouth, so time on the line they are without oxygen for a long time. They don't get that oxygen coming through their gills, and so it takes it's very difficult for them to come back once they get moving. Whereas tiger sharks are more robust in that sense. Yeah. So yeah, and of course, hammerheads are also highly susceptible to shark nets just because of the shape of the head. And so there's quite a lot of those caught in the shark net. So yeah, they're not on the target list. They're protected, or the scalloped hammerheads are protected, and sorry, they're critically endangered. So with that, when they talk about changes to the net and nets and using pingers and having efforts to minimize the deaths of non-target species, by having shark nets and drumlines there, the nets particularly are indiscriminate, and so there's nothing you can do to change, whether the target species are all sharks, 19 sharks, 7 sharks, or 3 sharks. It actually makes no difference to those sharks in the end, except for when the contractor leans over the side of a boat and decides whether to shoot or stab a shark to death.
Right.
Okay, so moving right along, I want to talk about something called depredation. Now, depredation is the phenomenon where animals caught in fishing practices will be subsequently preyed on by other animals, usually larger animals. And this happens in shark nets and on drum lines. So I've titled this slide, Depredation, or How Shark Nets Attract Large Predators to Popular Beaches. So a question for you. Would you swim adjacent shark fishers? So imagine you're walking along the beach and you see a guy with a great big rod and he's just cast and it's got a really big hook, or you might have seen them flying their drones out to sea with the bait and dropping it in the ocean. Do you want to swim there? Let's have thumbs up or thumbs down. You're going to swim there? I see Milani's going, the head's shaking there. All right. Would you want your children to swim adjacent to shark fishing? Is that an appropriate thing to do? And yes, these are rhetorical questions in this audience, but this is exactly what the Queensland Shark Control Program is effectively asking you to do. They put their baited drumlines and shark nets right at the very beaches where we've got patrol beaches, you know, swim between the flags. That's exactly the beaches where shark nets and drumlines are. They are fishing for sharks right there. And there's not much difference to that than swimming right beside someone who's actively fishing for sharks from a beach, which, you know, incidentally is a really big problem in Western Australia. So what I want to show you now is the result of these, what actually happens on these drumlines and shark nets. And this, what I'm about to show you is a whole lot of images that have come not from us, but from the Queensland government's own program. So we got these images under Freedom of Information, and I share them with you now. If I can get this thing to go, here we go. So this is a drumline. You can see the chain, you can see the contractor holding up the small shark or what's left of it. Here's another one. Another one, we can see a small shark with a larger shark caught there. Generally, the large shark does not get caught. Holly Richmond's sitting in here on this film at the moment, and I remember Holly describing, I can't remember whether it was in a film or a Q&A you and I did together once, and you described a moment when you dived down on a shark net and found a ray with a large bite taken out of it, and had that awful feeling of where is the animal that just did this? You're looking over your shoulder. I've experienced it myself. It's not a good feeling. And then you go looking for that large animal and you don't find them in the shark net. So this gear is attracting these animals into the very beaches. The Queensland government is telling you they're making safer somehow. That one shows it really clearly, as does that one. And this has been going on for years in Queensland since 1962, and the database describes this many, many times. So it's a phenomena and that is really prevalent in this gear. So, you know, it makes no sense to have that. And that image is the one that I'll finish on there. And I'm going to tell you now that on the 25th of May, so only a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, the Queensland government announced $88 million extra over 4 years for the shark control program. Now, this is after having gone into the Queensland election, indicating that they were going to be quite progressive on this issue. And they've turned around and done this. So it is a massive increase of funding. I believe it's about up from about $40 million to an extra $88 million over 4 years. Now, this decision was made sidestepping the scientific working group. So the scientific working group is a group of an advisory group formed several years ago in response to a legal action where they had to have this group to provide scientific advice, particularly in relation to the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. Now, there are a bunch of scientists on there. Some of them work within the department. Others are from outside universities and other groups. They all volunteer their time and effort into this group, and they were not consulted on this. They were ignored on it. And over the last few years, they've provided advice to remove shark nets. And now we've got this $88 million going into doubling the baiting effort. So previously the drum lines were being baited every second day. From July, it's going to be every day. And there are 7 extra beaches that have been named as going to have shark nets and drum lines installed. And so this is a huge increase in this program that is already discredited. So this, we think we've got no details yet on a breakdown of this $88 million, but there's a group of us who are working out where we think this money is going to go, and we think doubling the baiting of the drum lines and doing the extra shark nets, etc., is probably going to consume about 80 million of that 88. That we'll see what comes out from the government, because we're trying to find this out, but that would leave something like do the sums. So that's about another $2 million a year to go into the drone program that they're saying they're doing. We think this is just greenwashing. The drone program is a great program, and doubling the drone program is a good thing, but it is minuscule in comparison to what they're doing with shark nets and drum lines, and I think meaningless while shark nets and drum lines are still there. There's also been no proper stock assessment. So they don't really know how many tiger sharks, how many hammerheads there are out there, and what impact they're going to have when they greatly increase this. And so that stock assessment must be done. It's scientific work that is expensive, and that's not going to be covered by the $2 million a year that they've done. So that that will be left over after they've done the shark nets and drum lines. So this is a shocking action by the Queensland government. And I've put in here that there are very serious questions over the legality of this. We don't think it is legal. The Federal Environment Protection and Biodiversity Conservation Act from 1999, and specifically Section 43B(3), that was a loophole written into that legislation, or that act, specifically allowing the New South Wales and Queensland governments to keep killing sharks and even endangered species. That part of the act allowed the continuation of those after the EBBC Act came into play. If that wasn't in there, those programs would have to seek permits to do it and would be knocked back under the current EPBC Act. Now, that Section 43B(3) allows the continuation provided they're not increased, the effort's not increased. And this clearly is an increase in the effort. So we're hoping that legal action will stop this, but there are risks with the legal action. And one of the other problems with the legal action is that we've got to show not just an increase in the effort, we've got to demonstrate scientifically a negative impact on those species. Okay, so
Jonathan, we have a question from Rhonda. Is how many or what sort of length of non-lethal shark barriers could be installed for that amount of investment by the government?
Great question. Now, I won't be able to answer that one specifically, but I'll give you a couple of things. One, the Queensland government has been really poor on barriers. We know that barriers would be a great device. So it's like the Eco Shark Barrier, the Western Australian invention. There are Cairns beaches. There are various beaches that are inside the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park that have got fairly low energy beaches, and those shark barriers would work really, really well there. But my understanding is the Queensland government has kind of sort of maybe looked at it in a couple of places, and then kind of had a word with the local councils, and the local councils have said, nah, not at our beach, it'll send the wrong message to our tourists, which is complete and utter nonsense. I think it's all in how you ask the question, and how you put it is what sort of response you're going to get back. So I think that may have been engineered. That's my accusation, and I'm sticking to it. But there was a group of us, myself, Leo Guida from AMCS, and Andre Burrell from the Envoy Foundation. The three of us sat down and ran some numbers on this. And we did this about 4 years ago, and we're looking at doing it again with to cater for the changes that have occurred since. But we sat down and literally asked ourselves the question, what non-lethals would we put at the various beaches in Queensland? And we went really generous. We went, right, there's 7 beaches that currently got drum lines off Cairns, and we'll put a barrier at every single one of them. We'll do a couple of barriers at the Gold Coast. We'll use the barrier invented in South Africa that uses the artificial kelp forest and the magnets, which is really, really expensive, right? We went for drones everywhere, and we put in, we suggested something for every beach that currently has drum lines or nets, and we came up with a figure of something like an investment of about $45 million. The numbers aren't quite there, but basically there was a fairly big investment initially, and then then there was a per year that in the first 5 years it was going to be fairly expensive, but at the 5-year point, it was cheaper than what they're currently doing with the lethals. So there's no excuses not to do this, and they're still not doing it. And we built that. We budgeted all that out as really, really generously through. We tried not to underestimate and all that sort of thing. And we also based it on the Cardno review, which was their scientific review evaluating all the non-lethal. So we've done this work and we've put it to the government. We're looking at reviewing it again. So yeah, great question. And I think I hope that was a reasonable answer for it. Yeah, so and that's where I was going into questions for you. How's my timing, Sarah?
Well, you've got about 5 minutes.
Cool. So I would love to take questions from you guys, because I know that was pretty full on, lots of information, and I was going pretty quick.
There's so much to sort of, I guess, to try and sift through there, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Government not paying attention to the science is really worrying, because that seems to be a trend that's happening around the world. Scientific knowledge is less appreciated than it used to be in many places, and that worries me. Does it worry you?
Absolutely. Look, it's a dreadful thing. I think I'm one of those people that think there's a whole lot of issues that governments make decisions on, that the science should be the lead decision maker on it. The science should be the number one informant of the decision making, and this is one of those areas. Yeah. I don't think this is one that's up for popular vote. I think this is one that should be led by science, and the science is clear. The science, there's no science exists that tells you that shark nets and drumlines, that fishing for sharks off our beaches makes beaches safer. There is none. There is science to the counter of that. There's a well-known and well-cited review that was done in Hawaii, where for 10 years they killed tiger sharks to try and reduce shark bites at their beaches, and it showed it didn't have any effect. So we'll stick with that one. There's no science that shows there's this feeling that shark nets and drumlines work, because there's not a lot of shark bite and shark bite fatalities. It's a very, very rare event. When it does happen, it's utterly tragic. It affects very deeply a lot of people, the victim, their family, the first responders, the communities. I've seen it firsthand when we were working in Ballina back in 2015, 16, 17, when there was a cluster of bites there, and it really does affect a community. But you get people calling for these shark culls, and I'll make a point here too that I should have made earlier. One of the problems that we have in the media and the government is that they're not calling them. I won't say nobody's calling them, but almost nobody in media and in government is calling this a cull. And one of the things I'm going to ask everybody here in their conversations after this is use the word cull often, use it purposefully, and describe this as a cull to people. And when you write your letters to the ministers, to your local members, call it a cull, because it absolutely fits the definition of a shark cull. And it's not just a shark cull, it's a cull that affects rays, dolphins, turtles, you name it.
We have another question from Soft. Do we know which are the 7 unlucky new beaches supposedly getting nets?
I can answer you that if I just flick over to the media release that's sitting on my desk here. Here we go. Potential candidates for drumlines or nets include Gold Coast, Pacific Beach, net and drumlines, The Spit, drumlines, Sunshine Coast, Happy Valley, drumlines, Coolum North, net and drumlines, Peregian North, net and drumlines, Wide Bay, Elliott Head, drumlines, Moore Park, drumlines. 6 locations identified as potential candidates for expansion of the drone program. This one is good. Gold Coast, Rainbow Bay, Greenmount, North Stradbroke Island, still in the beach, Sunshine Coast, Mooloolaba, Moreton Bay, Tangalooma, Bundaberg, Elliott Heads and Moore Park, and Agnes Waters Main Beach. There you go. Okay.
So should we do? What do you want us to do?
What I want you to do, number one, I think, oh no, I've just I'm trying to get you back so I can see you all. Yeah. Look, the conversations you have with your friends and your workmates are really, really important. Okay. You can engage a lot of people, and that's one way we spread the words. But one of the things I want you to do when you have those conversations, apart from doing this yourself, I'd like everybody, if I've convinced you, I know there's people I won't have had to convince here, but if I've convinced you that this $88 million escalation of the Queensland Shark Control Program, we've got till July before it goes in. We need to write our letters to the Minister for Fisheries. And the Minister for Fisheries is the Honourable Tony Perrett. He's the member for Gympie. So I don't know what he knows about sharks. He's a farmer. And that's not to disparage farmers, by the way. But Tony Perrett is the Minister for DPI. Now, what the heck the shark cull or the shark control program is under the Department of Primary Industries, I don't know. I actually do know. I do know it's because it's convenient. It's a fishing device. If it was a beach safety program, it'd probably be under the Department of Science or something like that. But it's the DPI. It's like I say, Tony Perrett's his name. Letters can go to GPO Box 46 in Brisbane 4001. So GPO Box 46. I do have a slide there, Sarah, on the last slide, if that was useful. But it's pretty easy to know.
Share your slides again there, Jonathan, because you're not sharing at the moment. Can you share your again?
Yeah. I'll pop it back up. And there we go. There's that last slide. Can you all see that? I think you should. Yeah. So primary industries at ministerialqueensland.gov.au. So all 3 of those things can work really well if we get people to do them. Write a letter, they've got to write back to you. Write them an email, they've got to send you an email back. I can guarantee you when you write an email, they'll just send you the same one they send everyone, and it's doesn't tell you a lot, but you're making them take note of the numbers, and we need you to do that. But it can also be useful if you've got time and you're the sort of person who's happy to do it, ring that phone number, 37197530. Those are the nice, simple things that you can do now other than having those conversations. So,
that's really good. Thank you. So yeah, I guess we need to encourage everyone here to do something. Yeah. We can't just sit there and let this happen because our seas are in danger. And it's not just the sharks are in danger, is it? That's the main point. Another point we need to ram home is it's the rays, it's the dolphins, it's the whales, it's the turtles. They're all in danger.
That's right. And that danger is definitely going to increase if this announcement is seen to go through. If they do double the baiting regime, if they do put more shark nets and drumlines in, we're going to see more whales caught. We're going to see whales killed. We're going to dolphins, turtles, and all those sharks. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what we've got to stop.
Rhonda's got a comment here. She said, I attended Destination 45 last week when the Environment and Tourism Minister and the Premier were talking about what great things they're doing for ecotourism. I'd be happy for Wildlife Tourism Australia to remind them that ecotourism demands no harm to the environment and recommends non-lethal measures. That's a really good start, I think, Rhonda.
Thanks for pointing that out too, Rhonda, because, you know, there's that juxtaposition, isn't it, between, you know, encouraging people into ecotourism. I think that's a bit of let's open up the national parks for, you know, for businesses to make money out of. But let's see. I'm a bit of a cynic, but that could be what's going on there. But yeah, but to encourage people into ecotourism and indeed to claim that this is being done for our tourism industry is an absolute nonsense. And yes, the scientific working group does have tourism representatives on it, but they are representing a type of tourism industry that are really big, have the time to put their representatives onto those boards. It's not representative of the hundreds of dive shops who are running scuba diving, and absolutely sharks help their businesses. The whale watching operations, I don't think there's any whale watching operations that are going to support shark nets or drumlines. You've got your any of your island tourism operators and those sort of things. So I don't think our tourism operators are being represented there. And the other thing I'd say to you is, if you are a tourism operator, if you've got a business or know someone who does and you're feeling this way, keep an eye out or go actively looking for Envoy Foundation. The Envoy Foundation is putting together a coalition of organisations to make representation on their behalf about exactly this. So yeah, we need those tourism entities to sign up onto this, and that's the mechanism I'd recommend.
Absolutely. Well, there's so much to think about, but we have run out of time, Jono. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for giving us a heads up on what's been going on, and the impetus to actually take a stand. I really, really appreciate your time and your energy, and the energy that you've put into Sea Shepherd for so long, because someone has to do it, and I'm really glad it's you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, it's been a long time, getting a bit tired and a grey.
I hope everyone has enjoyed listening to today's talk, and I hope that you'll also come again every other month that we've got, because you're now part of this team, this World of Wildlife team, and we'll be letting you know when the next one is. Now, unfortunately, I'll be in the Galapagos for the next one, so we're actually not going to have a meeting in July, because I'm actually probably going to be out of range and I won't be able to coordinate. So the next time we'll be on will be the 10th of August. The time will change, as it does every month, because we get people from around the world coming and talking, and we like to change the time so that those people in Canada and Texas can come at a different time that we can in Australia. So please make sure that you come again. We want to make this community as big as we can so that we can collaborate together, we can learn from each other, we can create this band of like-minded souls who can support each other through all these processes. So I hope you can be part of that. That'd be really awesome. Lastly, of course, if you'd like to connect with me, here's all my connection points. And the top one you'll see is that Curious Kai Asks Why, a middle grade chapter book, is what you put into Kickstarter if you want to have a look at the cover of Curious Kai Asks Why. But please connect in every way that you can. And if anyone here would like to be a speaker at World of Wildlife in the future, please contact me and let me know that too, so that we can share everything you're doing as well. So thank you, everybody. Let's give each other a big round of applause, and I'll see you in a couple of months.